Hey everyone, welcome to Film Rush. This is a weekly podcast where two cousins get together and talk about movies. My name is Logan Vaughn, and joining me today is my cousin John.
Hey everyone, I'm John Vaughn. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Welcome to Film Rush.
Welcome back to Film Rush, everybody. It's another episode. It's another Wednesday. Sorry for the delay. Last week just didn't pan out the way it was supposed to do so. Man, my words aren't coming out today. Logan, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Speaking of panned out, I guess last week's episode is in Neverland because it never happened. Super sad.
I mean, I got no excuses. Sorry, but it didn't happen.
Sometimes you have those weeks, but the good news is John and I have been watching a lot of stuff, and we recognize that this is the week of Halloween, so we've definitely got some spooky content for you. I watched The NeverEnding Story. John watched The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we're going to report back on that at the end of today's episode.
Woot woot. But before that, we have to always talk about optional movies that we just observed throughout the week that we thought were pretty dope or pretty nope. So I think we got a few to get through. So I think, Logan, I'll toss it to you for one of your recommends, and then we'll bounce it back and round.
Yeah, I think we need to come up with like new ways to say recommend and avoid, like the bro or like the no pile or something.
Bro, no.
Film or some kind of a play on Rush.
We've definitely tried before.
What would be the negative of Rush though? Trickle?
Does this give you a rush or does it give you a trickle? I don't know. I don't think that's very catchy.
Does it tickle your trickle?
Comment down below what you think our rating system should be, whether it's stay, recommend, or avoid, or become rush and trickle, or something else that you can think of. Just let us know.
All right. So I've been blasting through a lot of horror, and there are a few movies that I want to get into. A couple are going to be recommends, a couple are going to be avoids, so we can go through a few of mine, and then I know you've got some movies on your side. So the first one that I will start off with tonight was a movie that I saw for the first time. It is 2014's Creep over on Netflix. Have you seen Creep, John?
I don't think so. The ring doesn't name a bell. The name doesn't ring a bell.
Cool. So it is a found footage movie, and it is a very creepy and unsettling movie. It's I would say relatively unique in that it's a psychological horror that really doesn't have a whole lot of blood and gore in it, if any, to be honest. But it will shake you to your core, and it's very unnerving. The basic plot is there is a random guy who sees an ad in the newspaper. Somebody needs video filming services for 8 hours, and the pay is $1,000. And the guy's like, hey, I'm like average. I need money, like $1,000 for 8 hours. Like, I'll do that, sure. So he shows up, and this really enthusiastic, upbeat, but somehow offbeat, unnerving guy. He's really genuine and sweet, but you just sense that there's just something inside that just isn't clicking right. And he's like, I have cancer. I have a wife. My wife is like 6 months pregnant with my child. I don't think that I'm gonna make it to my child's birth. So I want to be filmed for 8 hours in my natural environment, so my child could spend a day with me when it's older, and I won't be there.
Be filmed. Right. Is that how they say it, or is that just your definition?
Oh no, that is
in my natural environment.
That is actually what happens. And the guy proceeds to literally like walk around and basically like hang out all day, like he has like the imaginary kid with him. Mm-hmm. So he literally like strips naked and gets in the bathtub and gives a fake invisible child a bubble bath and forces this random dude to stand there and film the whole thing. The whole movie is just shit like that.
Watch this. Yeah, that's just really unnerving.
Yes, really creepy. Again, like John, you were asking me for softcore horror.
Horror.
I think this goes.
Be sure to have heard the correct word there.
Yeah, I would put this in that psychological thriller territory where you can watch this and get super scared, and you're gonna have a hard time turning the lights off at night, and you're really gonna have a hard time being home alone. But the movie doesn't really show you a whole lot of like death and blood and gore and sex and nudity and like demonic possession, jump scare, loud syllables clashing together, violin shrieking. It's not that type of horror. So I would recommend Creep on Netflix. Solid 7 out of 10.
Sounds like it would give me the creeps.
I think it would.
I mean, sometimes creeps are fun. Sometimes they're fun. So I have one that I'd like to recommend.
Tell me more, sir.
This is a cute movie. So to balance out the creep, I'm going to bring in the cute.
All right.
It's cute and very pretty and very touching. So it's called Song of the Sea. It's 2014 international animated film. It's an hour and a half long. It's on Netflix. It's made by Tom Bohr, and its country of origin, I believe, was Ireland. Yes, and fantastic little movie. It's just about this young girl named Saoirse who has a mystical destiny. The description on IMDb is Ben, a young Irish boy, and his little sister Saoirse, a girl who could turn into a seal.
Turn into a seal?
Yeah, I was gonna leave that out because it kind of felt spoilery. It's not like super late in the film. It happens in the first act, but like, I don't know. It's kind of a nice surprise to me. But anyway, go on an adventure to free fairies and save the spirit world. That's it, basically. So it's based a lot in Irish folklore. So there's a lot of creatures that are specific to that region of the world that you'll see in this. And it's very cute little 2D animation. And she's basically got this magical power within her to be the avatar. Like, she pretty much just brings balance between the spirit world and the normal world, or at least that's her purpose. And she needs her brother's help because she doesn't feel very well about halfway through this trek. There's a lot of endearing characters in this. Plus, it's got a great cast. Brendan Gleeson is the dad. David Rahl, who people might know from the show Moon Boy, came out in 12 to 15. He plays Ben. Then there's a couple other Irish talents in here that you may or may not have seen throughout stuff. I like this movie a lot. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It was really touching.
Nice. Did you say that it was like nominated for Best Animated Movie at the Oscars, or did I mishear that?
I don't think it was, but it did get one nomination. You said
something about it at the beginning, but
it was a nominee for that.
Oh, it was.
Nominee for the Best Animated Feature Film of the Year. I don't think I said that. If I did, that was definitely verbal vomit, but I would have been right.
I feel like I've never heard of this movie before, and I was like doing Oscar ballots back in 2014, and somehow this just does not sound familiar to me at all.
I hadn't heard anything about this until just one day on Discord. I'm in a writing group on Discord, and we were just talking about like, what art style would you want your book adapted into and stuff like that. And somebody mentioned Song of the Sea, and I hadn't heard of it. So I checked it on Netflix and added it to my list. And then this weekend, I was like, I want to watch it.
All right. Well, I will add it to my list too, and I will check this out once we get out of spooky season. My queue is still a little clogged with, some blood and some gore, but once I get back into the land of happiness, then I will come check this out, because this sounds awesome.
It is very pretty as well. The animation is surprising, even though it's just that simple 2D style. I say simple, there's probably way more to it than I realize, but it's just kind of simple in style, I suppose. But anyway, what's your other recommend that you've brought to the table this week?
Other recommend is something that I have talked about before. I really just want to share a quick story. The one of the scariest, most horrifying movies that I've seen over the last couple of years is Apostle over on Netflix. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not seen the movie, this is a very, very bloody, very freaky movie. It's got a supernatural elements. It's got torture and gore in it. There is some really uncomfortable religious oppression in this movie as well. Main story of Apostle is it's set in like the year 1905, and there's this guy whose sister is kidnapped by a super sadistic cult.
Fun.
And so he goes and infiltrates this cult as a new member to try to kidnap his sister back from this cult. And there's a lot of witchcrafty type stuff going on. There's actual supernatural elements. It's not like The Village, where it's all fake. There's
It doesn't
actual
set it all up and then let y'all down.
Right. And this movie, man, will go to some places. It is there for the darkness. It might even be a little bit excessive with some of its violence and some of its torture and gore.
Interesting.
But I got to show this to Jacqueline. This has been in my watch pile for her for like maybe 2 years now, a year or something like that. This came out in 2019.
And I have a few of those.
So I've been trying to get her to watch this for a while. She finally agreed. She said she wanted to watch something really freaky, so I was like, all right, awesome.
Have I got the movie for you?
And she was disturbed within the first 20 minutes.
It's successful then.
It was just one of those movies where every few minutes she would just like sit up straight and like look shocked and gasp and go, Logan, what are we watching?
My dignity has been besmirched by this film.
So if you're looking for that kind of horror movie, it's really twisted. I really have a lot of fun with it. So if you're in the mood for what I'm describing, go check out Apostle on Netflix. I've talked about it before. You can go back and look for one of our older episodes from probably late last year, but I really like Apostle. I think it's incredibly well done and very unique and absolutely worth the trip down the tunnel of terror.
Well, it seems that Jacqueline has learned the lesson that I needed to know. So thank you, Jacqueline. Never ask you for a film that will disturb me, because chances are you have one in your pocket.
I wanted to balance it out. You know, Creep was kind of your more softer one, and Apostle was your, rated M for mature.
Rated M for, sometimes X rating M for adults.
So what is on your list, sir? I see another title, and I'm very curious what you're going to say.
Well, okay, so you and I talked about this film like 2 weeks ago. Well, it'd have to at least be 2 weeks ago at this point, but 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's Real Steel on Netflix. This is a
Hugh Jackman and that robot. Hell yeah.
Hugh Jackman, the robot, and the kid.
And the kid.
Very Iron Man 3. And this came out in 2011, which was before Iron Man 3, so I call shenanigans. But the Real Steel movie, it's in my recommend category because it's honest. It is what it is. If you've watched the trailer, you're like, I know exactly what this is. This is a sci-fi version of Rocky, basically. Washed up boxer ends up gaining an opportunity he never had before. Rocky when you add in a kid, I guess. But it's not there to win any awards. It's not there to necessarily get you to cry, even though it does want you to at some points, but it knows you probably won't. But it's fun. It's got robots that box each other. Basically, it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, or if you're at like college and you've got a robot fighting team, it's that, but with robots that look like humans and can punch each other instead of boxers. It's kind of an unrealistic universe where I don't think we would ever replace human-to-human fighting. There is always a cachet to that. But if we had the capability to build these, I'm sure we would do it.
Oh, I'm sure we would.
I just don't think it would replace boxing like it does in this universe.
Probably not.
Overall, though, it's cute, fun, nice, both coming of age, sort of, and redemption story. Hugh Jackman and Evangeline Lilly and everyone else does a good job. Evangeline Lilly still needs to get a role that doesn't get kneecapped by a contrived romance, but man, she's just cursed by Hollywood, I guess.
Super fair.
But the reason I said Real Steel-ish is because, it's okay. It's like a 6 out of 10, Your kid will dig the shit out of it. Like, if you got a 10-year-old boy in the house, freaking watch The Real Steel right now. What's wrong with you? Yeah,
it's an interesting movie because it's, like you said, it's like a 6 out of 10, but there's still something charming enough about it that you gotta give it a pass. But it's a good pairing if you want to pair. Let's see, let's treat it like wine, John. What are some good pairings for Real Steel? National Treasure, Bumblebee, Big Hero 6.
I mean, you're pretty much hitting all the nails on the head. And like saying Bumblebee with it, because like when you think Real Steel, I do also think Transformers.
Yeah, same.
And I think Bumblebee is the best out of the selection in regards to Real Steel for that. But you can also watch Transformers 1, I would say also is a pretty decent comparison. course, some people really hate Transformers.
Totally.
So
Yeah, of course.
but yeah, it's just this is a great little simple title. The directors come out and said that there's been so much popularity on Netflix for Real Steel that there is a semi discussion to maybe do Real Steel 2.
Interesting.
I doubt it will happen. Would this be the first example of a film being brought to a streaming site and then getting a sequel because of the new popularity, or has that already happened?
I'm sure that has to have happened over the last couple of years, especially because,
I can't think of one off the top of my head, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I may have to do some research on that and think about that. I can think of movies that debuted on streaming and then got a streaming sequel. But I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
A movie that gets brought back to life. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting idea.
That's something to pull in the back pocket to figure it out. But yeah, Real Steel-ish. 6 out of 10, but you know what it is once you've seen the trailer, so check it out if you want, or don't.
Cool.
So Logan, that brings us to the avoid category, and I see you have a few that left a bad taste in your mouth.
We do. We don't have to spend a super long time here, though. Let me first go to the David Lynch experience.
It's not a very good experience these days, let me tell you.
Well, look, he's a giant, iconic, well-respected director. He is also
he's got good work behind him.
He's also a flavor. He's also an acquired taste, I think, and this was just not for me. So I got the opportunity to watch Eraserhead and then The Brood over on HBO Max. They've got a stellar collection of old horror movies, by the way. But Eraserhead is his first movie. I believe The Brood is his second. It could be his third, but those are two of his very first, earliest works. They were very surreal. They were very disturbing. They were very dirty and gritty and loosely structured. And it was just a trip that I didn't enjoy. So I thought that I would be the right kind of person for David Lynch. I really, really did. But boy, Eraserhead in particular was a really just cringe experience for me. I did not enjoy myself while watching it. The Brood I enjoyed a little bit more, but they were both just such odd and undesirable experiences that I would really just rather not watch them ever again. And I would probably, I would recommend passing on them if you haven't seen them and you don't think that they're for you, because these movies are very unique. They're very twisted. They're very dark. And even someone like me had a hard time getting into them. So I may catch some heat for that. I know that the fans of David Lynch are super passionate, complete respect, but it just wasn't for me. Out of curiosity, John, have you seen any of David Lynch's work?
I've had a spotty viewing of Eraserhead through a lot of fellow film fans who watch a lot of this stuff, and Eraserhead has come up quite a bit. I have seen bits of the Twin Peaks series from 2017. I've seen... there was another movie on here. I've only seen like one other movie from him otherwise.
He's done Elephant Man, Dune, Blue Velvet.
I feel like I saw Elephant Man.
Mulholland Drive.
But it would have been a long time ago at this point. David Lynch never grabbed me.
Oh, he did Twin Peaks, it looks like.
Yeah. So he's done Twin Peaks a lot. He did Twin Peaks in 1990, 91, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Then you go up a little ways. He takes a bit of a break. And then eventually you'll get back to another Twin Peaks, like Festival Green documentary short. Then you got Twin Peaks Missing Pieces. Then you've got Twin Peaks the series in 2017. He really digs those Twin Peaks. He just keeps coming back.
But man, Eraserhead, just the whole concept was just so unsettling to me. Just the way the movie is shot and the soundscape was haunting and beautiful, but it was so unsettling and unnerving. I don't know. I'm having a hard time without really getting into the meat and massaging it. I'm not gonna get into that here. Other thing can also be a relatively short thing, but for the very first time in my life, John, I watched Alien 3. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I could have told you that wasn't going to be a good experience.
No, sure it was not.
Even I have seen that movie, and it's been a long time, so I'm fuzzy on a lot of the details, but I do remember having a bad
Oh
time.
yeah. I gave this a 2 out of 10, a 1-star review on Letterboxd.
You were about to say 1. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I gave it a
Still low.
2.
Still low as hell.
It was so rough. Like, all of the aliens, there might have been 1 or 2 scenes in the movie where the alien actually looked like a prosthetic. There were so many scenes where it was very clearly a crappy special effect because it was glowing orange. And it was like moving all around the room, sort of like when you flip paper really, really fast and there's like a really cute little stick figure drawing. Mm-hmm. It was so choppy. It was rough. Very, very disappointing for Alien 3. Obviously, it's got this reputation. I've seen so many of these scenes on, like, Watch Mojo clips on YouTube. And so I was very familiar with it. I knew a lot of what would happen. So it was kind of weird to watch this movie, having never seen it before, already having seen most of the major spoiler scenes, like, on YouTube over the years. But it was still a really, really bad movie. The characters were terrible. The way that they treated Ripley and the previous crew really pissed me off. It was just very disrespectful. The creature itself was presented as the least scary as the previous creatures to me.
The xenomorph really loses a lot of its charm in this film as well, in terms of being a terrifying creature. I think it's because you see it too much. And I think that's been a problem with the Alien series pretty much ever since Alien 1. But I think the xenomorph, it's just not as threatening as it used to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think the one singular xenomorph in a contained facility, I think that can be played out in moments in movies, but I still think once you've gone as big as Aliens went with that queen, I think you have a hard time not going just as big or bigger.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard for me for Aliens 3 to just completely reverse. Now you're going to go to this contained prison with this really weird religious zealot group of, like, dudes who haven't seen a woman in decades. It didn't work for me. So Alien 3 was a complete bust. I really disliked this movie. I thought the characters were terrible. I thought that the plot was terrible. Special effects were just as bad. The movie's just vibe and whole mood and feel were really, really rough. So it was cool to see there was someone in here that I recognized. Charles Dance is Clemens, and I really liked Charles Dance in this movie. He is Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. And I thought it was hilarious to recognize him in Aliens 3 because I had no clue he was in here. But man, David Fincher is one of the best directors working today, probably top 3 or 4 directors working today.
Yeah, I forgot he made Alien 3. I just saw that on Google and I was like, wait a minute,
right.
wait a minute. And then I looked, I was like, no, Ridley Scott made Alien, like the property. And I was like, but David Fincher directed like one of the worst of the entire, what the fuck?
Right. Yep.
It doesn't make any sense to my brain.
Yep. And David Fincher actually has a new movie coming out that he, I believe, started working on right around the time that he was doing Alien 3, or it might have been the one he was trying to make before he got on Alien 3 or something like that. So I saw an interview today where he was being interviewed about it and something about Alien 3. So anyway, just thought it was cool that David Fincher's got a new movie coming out. So I watched Alien 3. Irregardless, Alien 3 sucks. So
Yep.
If you didn't know that already,
Now you do.
don't waste your time.
Watch any other David Fincher movie pretty much. Hell, watch Mindhunter on Netflix, which, by the way, David Fincher has basically said Mindhunter is dead in the water.
Oh, yeah, I think that's dead, and I'm sad. I'm very, very sad. I love Mindhunter.
Yep, I'm sad. Had too small an audience, too high a budget.
I thought some things were never supposed to change.
Well, yeah.
Some things never
There was so much planted in that show that was going to pay off so cool and so nicely, and it will never will. Maybe 2021 will be the opposite of 2020, and we'll just fucking boomerang to where things are so goddamn good. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Don't get your hopes up, people. But maybe with Mindhunter.
I love Jonathan Groff as Holden.
It was so. I mean, Jonathan Groff really. I knew of him from
and Holt
Frozen.
McCannley is Bill Tench.
But then I saw Mindhunter, and then he just really exploded in my consciousness, and I was like, this guy's all right. I like this guy.
I mean, I'm looking at Jonathan Groff's IMDb, and it's Frozen, Frozen 2, Hamilton, and Mindhunter. And man, how many people would kill to have 4 title cards that good?
Yeah, that fucking big, that probably, he's riding high on cloud 9, and man deserves it. He puts in the work.
What's, you know who he reminds me of? What's the guy who was the villain in Patrick Wilson, the guy with the villain from Aquaman?
Oh, really?
He reminds me of Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's going to start getting those, like, Patrick Wilson type roles.
Maybe someday he'll play a superhero.
Maybe.
That'd be interesting. But, cool. So that brings us to
He's the type.
the show section.
TV.
This is where we branch out from the film area a little bit and we talk about shows. And I have a little more content here than I hit in the movies. So we'll jump right into one of mine.
Yeah, what you been watching lately?
So I checked out a solid cross-section of this show on Disney Plus that someone mentioned that sounded like it was directly up my ass. I mean, alley. And it's called Prop Culture. And Prop Culture...
Prop culture.
Yep,
Okay.
it's basically it's supposed to be like a semi-docu / just regular television series where this guy named Dan Lanigan goes to various places to find the props and explore the props world for classic films, such as the original Tron, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Pearl. He goes and he finds, like, for example... I think the best episode that I've seen so far is the Narnia one, because he manages to get 3 out of the 4 kids from the original cast, or the only cast, I guess, to come back, and he reunites the actor who played Peter with his sword and his shield.
Huh.
They talk about it briefly. He gives Susan her bow and arrows.
That's cool.
And they admit that they hadn't really seen them since they were kids. Peter gives a little tidbit that he was, as a child, when he played Peter, wasn't allowed to have the sword until it was, like, camera time. Then they would, like, hand it to him, say action, he would do the thing, and then they'd say cut, and they'd take the sword away from him.
Oh my gosh.
So he never really got to have the sword, which kind of bothered me because I think the sword was a big part of his character. But, I mean, I guess he's a kid, and it's a sword, blah, 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 blah.
Insurance.
Yeah, probably insurance. I'm recommending this show because it's quick, it's easy, it's popcorn, kind of. It's only 30-minute episodes. The thing that disappointed me is that, going back to the gold fucking standard every single time, the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes, just isolating the prop-related parts of those behind the scenes, are still better than this. I'm kind of having trouble with Disney Plus, where the majority of their shows only scratch the depths of the subject and don't go any deeper. This is Netflix's fault. Witcher has that problem. That's Netflix. But Into the Unknown, the Frozen 2 documentary of creating Frozen, it reveals more than I think it intends to about the depths of the production. But if you don't know that not finishing your script until 6 months before the film comes out is a bad thing, you may not necessarily realize that you're being told more than they want you to know. Otherwise, it's very popcorn. It's very cotton candy to get through. And it kind of bothers me because they don't settle in prop culture. They don't settle on any moment for very long at all. In Lord of the Rings, you have the head of Weta workshops explaining these costumes. And this is just a quick dirty example. And like he'll go to an elven costume and he's like, this costume was colored with golds, yellows, and greens because this was an elven suit in the prologue when they were in their springtime. Now in Lord of the Rings in the movie, we have a lot more browns and reds because they're in the fall of their existence in Middle-earth and they're soon going to be leaving. So we change their color palette and it shows you the costume and it shows you relevant shots.
Interesting.
By example, he talks to the woman who is the costume designer for Pirates of the Caribbean. This would be a super interesting conversation because those costumes are fucking ridiculous if you really analyze them.
Sure. Over the top and dramatic.
Yeah, and she kind of scratches the surface, but the thing is, instead of having like a studio area with the costumes on like mannequins with proper shots and footage to that's relative to it, they just get these boxes out on this dock. They're on like a dock that's themed piratey like, and there's the ocean. Let's get out these boxes, pop the boxes open. There's a mess of tissue paper, and she just like drags out a coat, and it's Barbossa's coat. She's like, oh, Barbossa's supposed to be a dark character, so we gave him charcoal, and he likes fine things, so it's made out of silk. Shows a little bit of footage of Barbossa, moves on to his hat. Oh, he didn't want to wear a hat. This is literally true. She's like, Jeffrey Rush didn't want to wear a hat, and I couldn't get him to wear a hat. He's like, no, it's not my thing. So I went to the bathroom, and then I came back, and he was wearing a hat, and I said, that looks good. And he goes, it does, doesn't it? And then we moved on.
What the heck?
That's pretty much how I could sum up how everything feels so surface level in the show. It's just so, here's this thing, doesn't that look cool? Move on to the next thing.
Unexciting.
And I never feel like anyone has a genuine conversation. It's just a line, a laugh, move on. A line, a laugh, move on. So I know I'm disparaging on the show a lot. It definitely isn't probably as bad as I'm making it out to be, but man, I want genuine thought out information in my documentaries. Is that so bad? Is that too much?
No, it's not. I hear what you're saying.
So it's kind of a mixed bag. I recommend checking it out. They've got like he's got stuff from Roger Rabbit, the Muppets movie, as I said, the original Tron. So this isn't all just like fucking Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and all these movies that everyone always does documentaries over. You know, you might find something new in there. So give it a check out. It's only 30-minute episodes, so it's super easy.
And that's over on Disney Plus, you said?
Yep, that's on Disney Plus.
Nice. Very cool. What else you got in your TV section?
So my recommend otherwise is a lot shorter than that one. It's just my next guest continuation needs no introduction.
Is that David Letterman show?
It's basically David Letterman.
Ooh, thank you for
2.0.
talking about this. I wanna get back into this.
So he
show.
just released a slate of new episodes. I watched one of them, and I want to watch another one soon. It's a Robert Downey Jr. one.
Oh, you watched that one, dude. I'm gonna like go watch that after I get out of this.
I have things to say.
Oh no,
not about the show itself. It's about Robert Downey, but I think he's very manic. I know
Is
Robert.
Is he lost in the role?
And I love no. I think it's good. I think you'll find some good tidbits in there, and you'll appreciate a look at Robert's life that you don't necessarily always see.
Sure. Okay.
You get to see his like animals and stuff. He has like a fucking whole farm of animals.
Really?
Yeah. Him and his wife have alpacas. They have Scottish cows. They've got poi pigs or whatever. These big old pigs. You'll see them. They lead an interesting life.
I didn't know any of this.
You do hear about his parents, and you hear about his dark times. That's the thing I like about this show is it's got David Letterman doing his host thing that he's had many years of experience doing. And he's allowed to ask questions that he will literally never have been allowed to ask on The Late Show. Like, you can't ask Robert Downey Jr. about his drug problems in the 90s when you're asking him about his new Iron Man flick on The Late Show.
Sure.
Like, that's not fucking allowed. So it allows him to have a little bit more genuine conversation. It gives me that comedians in cars getting coffee vibe, but less of the comedian thing. And more about that because David Letterman's not necessarily a comedian, but he is a humorous presence. So I think
he's a great interviewer too.
Yeah, I think him and Jerry Seinfeld have that same energy of getting answers from people that they wouldn't necessarily give to just a regular Joe. And I want to watch the Dave Chappelle one next. That's on there now. Dave Chappelle is a very interesting human being, and I like to absorb whatever I can from him. My favorite episode to date, though, is still the Obama one. I think that's one of the best.
That's the one that I like the most, too.
It's not to be political or anything like that on this podcast. I just think that the Obama episode was one of the best genuine viewings into a politician than you normally see. I don't think you get a chance to really break past the porcelain skin of a politician until they are retired, like Obama is. And then you get to finally hear some genuine article conversations, and I liked it. So, yeah. My next guest needs no introduction, David Letterman. Check it out. There's a whole bunch of guests. Like, I've barely scratched the surface. He's got Kanye West. He's got, I think he has his wife now as well.
Kim Kardashian West, Lizzo.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people.
Ellen DeGeneres, Tiffany Haddish, Lewis Hamilton. I don't recognize that name.
I don't either.
Melinda Gates, Zach Galifianakis. Why?
Yeah, I don't. I'll probably never watch that one, to be honest. Sorry, Zach.
Jay-Z. Oh, hey, look, there's one with Jerry Seinfeld.
What do you know? Bring it around. I didn't know that. I should actually watch that one. Jerry Seinfeld's a strange individual. He's interesting to listen to.
Yes.
But yeah, my next guest needs no introduction. If that sounds at all interesting to y'all, give it a check out. So Logan, that was 2 of my recommends.
Cool.
Talk about whatever you want to talk about over there.
All right. Okay, so I've got one TV show. Jacqueline and I started this yesterday, and we watched
really
all of it yesterday and today.
Damn.
Blew through this. The Haunting of Bly Manor. We wanted to get into spooky season, man.
Oh.
It's Halloween, so we got to get the scaring on. This is the anthology second season to the Haunting of why am I always going to forget the name of the show?
You literally forgot this last time.
This was last week, wasn't it?
You forget it. You forgot it when you
It's
reviewed
Mike Flanagan. Hill House.
The Invisible Man.
Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House, which is like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 class act in
3
horror
out of 10
and
title.
drama.
Not memorable at
thriller.
all.
What'd you say?
I said 3 out of 10 title, not memorable at all.
Oh my gosh. I think I'm just dumb. But The Haunting of Bly Manor reuses a lot of the same actors, not all of them, but a lot of the same actors, and it's an anthology, so it's a very different set of characters, different time. Essentially what happens is there is a babysitter who is working for this really rich family, for these 2 really rich orphans, basically. The babysitter dies a tragic death, so they have to hire
as one does.
A new babysitter. New babysitter shows up, and she starts seeing ghosts all over the place. And it's a haunted house type TV season. It's all packaged in one season in 9 episodes. Each episode's about an hour, so you get about 9 hours of content. It was so slow. I think right out of the gate, I gotta say this was a disappointment.
It sucks.
I thought it was it leaned way too heavily on the emotional trauma is the true villain mindset for this movie. And that was like, this has been out for maybe a week, 2 weeks now, and I've had a hard time clicking play on it because I kind of had a feeling that this would be a little bit less ghost oriented and a little bit more emotional trauma oriented, and that is absolutely accurate.
Interesting that took you so long, because I've been hearing there's a lot of people in like my Venn diagram of touching circles of social circles who have been saying, watch this right now, go watch this show. And I'm not even a horror guy. Like, these people are all supplemental individuals that I know on like Facebook and shit. I figured someone who knows you would have told you yay or nay on this by now.
This is going to be a weird comparison, but it feels like if you took Crimson Peak by Guillermo del Toro and you mixed that with the Christopher Nolan type storytelling. I found it to be...
Yeah, it's super hard to conceptualize.
I found it to be so it's like a gothic romance, and it's a tragedy. But the acting is beautiful. Like, there's some really emotionally haunting scenes. And it does stay in the spirit of the first movie in that, like, the reason the ghosts are there are because of the emotional trauma of, someone or something like that. And so there's like ghosts in the house, and they're all there for, some type of reason, and you have to solve the emotional mystery so that you can set everything right in the house. And it didn't seem particularly like unique to me, and I'm really having a hard time explaining what it is. It was just really slow, and I found it to be particularly confusing and a little bit full of itself. The last episode felt like 3 episodes crammed into one. There were so many like emotional like ups and downs that I was like, okay, you could probably like close the show out in the next 5 minutes. And then there's
Can we hit a valley for longer than 10 seconds,
and then there's
please?
like 40 more minutes of content. But I don't know. There's just something about the way they packaged the story that I didn't particularly care for. I think you probably could have knocked 3 or 4 episodes off of this. There's this weird crescendo moment that happens at the beginning of the last episode, but they've been holding back on it for like at least 2 episodes.
Huh.
But they keep fucking around with flashbacks. Gosh darn it, flashbacks.
Flashbacks.
They keep fucking around with flashbacks. They keep like, oh, you finally got to something interesting. Well, here's one whole episode on a character that used to live in this house 100 years ago or whatever.
These are like anime filler episodes. They fucking suck.
Well, it was paced to me like The Walking Dead. Like nothing happens for 8 episodes, but then it all comes crashing down in that last episode.
Yeah.
It was very much that type of experience. Binging it was so slow and so dull. I cannot imagine watching this like drop one week after week after week. I don't think I could finish with the show.
Maybe you'll just gaslight yourself in that situation. You'll like watch it, hate it. Throughout the next 6 days, you'll just like tell yourself, it can't be that bad, can't be that bad, can't be that bad. You watch, you're like, fuck, and then you gaslight yourself every week.
Yeah, and maybe
that's how they wanted it.
I don't know. There's still a lot of beauty there, and it's possible this is going to be one of those experiences. Like, I don't care for the Babadook, I don't care for the Witch, I don't care for the Blair Witch Project, and those are beloved by many. So horror is very much a taste. I thought this was going to be up my alley because I love Haunting of Hill House. Absolutely love it. You've got the same director, you've got the same team. This should be for me. For whatever reason, it didn't catch. I will be watching The Haunting of Hill House soon, probably to kind of cleanse my palate from this, but I don't know. It's kind of like American Horror Story. Totally dug the first season. Very mixed on the second. I loved like half of it, and the other half of it I found to be very slow and confusing. So I don't know. Haunting of the Bly Manor would be a pass for me.
It's interesting that you make that American Horror Story comparison, because I was actually going to ask, if someone likes American Horror Story, would they like Haunting of House Hill? Or is that not even a comparable show at all in terms of like content? I don't know anything about it.
I think American Horror Story is kind of like your hot topic, and I think that The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor are more like your Hallmark version, where they're emotionally stabbing you with knives.
Interesting. Okay.
More than trying to show you a clown ripping someone's skull off of their spine.
So that's
because American Horror Story goes for the blood, whereas The Haunting of Hill House is not about blood. It's about ghosts stalking you.
It sounds like it'll give my skin the crawls, but I've been thinking about clicking on it in honor of Spooky Month.
Yeah, I would say the first 4 episodes, there's literally a shadow figure in the background of probably 40 to 50% of the scenes. Like if she's walking out of the hallway to go from one room to another, and each 3 rooms that she's in, there's a shadow figure in the corner.
Fun.
So there's some really, like the first half has some really awesome setup. Just really right around episode 4, episode 5, it just started to get a little flashback happy and really began to tread water. So odd experience of a show, because I really dug the vibe of it and the tone of it. It just, I don't know, it didn't have the right pacing and momentum for me for some reason. So it didn't catch me. It didn't scare me.
So avoid Bly Manor and watch Hill House is what I'm getting, basically.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, so maybe I'll give that a look-see then, because that sounds like it might actually be up my spooky type alley. But that was you said, I want to clarify, by the way, that I was super confused by moving on to your avoid, because I thought you said Nada and recommend as a show title, not as nothing.
Oh, no.
I got
now. Nothing.
I get it. Nada means none.
Nada's not the name of a show. Nada means nothing. Yeah, I'm good. That is my movies. That is my TV shows. I am done, sir.
But I wondered if someone had just titled something Nada. I don't know.
I think you've still got something over there on your TV show, right?
I do. It's just a quick and dirty don't watch Man with a Plan on Netflix. Have you ever thought...
I don't even know what that is.
Have you ever thought that you wanted Joey from Friends, literally Joey from Friends, to be in Last Man Standing? Is that a show you ever wanted in your life?
No. I don't think so.
Well, then, Man with a Plan is not the show for you. That's what this show is.
This looks like a George Lopez kind of show.
It's a George Lopez, more like Last Man Standing with Tim Allen, but just taking Joey, Matt LeBlanc, and I call him Joey because I've seen Matt LeBlanc in other things where he's not necessarily just playing Joey. But in this is just Joey post Friends. This is Joey after he's moved somewhere else had a wife, had kids. Now he's an adult. He's still an idiot. Still makes the same jokes. He's a little less sexist, but he's still like tough guy sexist, which is still not okay. And yeah, you just mix that in with the fucking last man standing punch, and you got Man with a Plan. It was rough. I gave it a go, and just out of my appreciation for Matt LeBlanc, and I was like, oh my god, nope, this is gotta stop. I'm gonna kill myself. It's so bad. It's so 2008. Obvious sets, terrible actors, and I mean like all the extra actors. Like main cast, they may have like other things that they're really good in. I don't know, but like the extras, this fucking teachers at his kids' schools, and everybody else are all fucking idiots. It's just painful to watch. Don't watch it.
I didn't even know the show existed, but if I did, I would never have clicked on it.
I wouldn't have either. I was just
you even
fucking
bothered
bored.
watching it.
Well, I mean, hey, I was like, I kind of liked. Well, here's the thing. I kind of like The Ranch. There we go. Fuck it. I was thinking The Farm, and I was like, that's not right. The Ranch. With
The Ranch. I don't know this movie.
Ashton Kutcher, Sam Elliott, Danny Masterson.
Don't know it.
So, okay, well, actually, it's funny because that's been going on for 8 years, dude. And The Ranch has been one of Netflix's biggest shows.
Really?
Yes.
I saw a taping of the season finale.
My wife, because she was in the acting program at her school, her university, was able to go to Los Angeles, and she was able to view a taping of a finale of this show. And it sounds like it was super interesting. I would have loved to have seen it, especially watch Sam Elliott act. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, Sam Elliott's cool.
But it's the thing about The Ranch compared to Man with a Plan. Man with a Plan is garbage. The Ranch is very open about what it is. The ranch itself and the bar and all that are so obviously sets, like so ridiculously obvious, not real. They are on a soundstage, but the show like knows that, and it's just playing the story out in front of you as if honestly it was a fucking play. It kind of feels like that. Kind of feels like it's a stage play. And it's just about Ashton Kutcher's a washed up, not very good football player who ran off to be a city boy and a successful football player, but failed at all of it and came back to his country town to live with his dad, Bo.
Oh, God.
Plays by Sam Elliott, and his brother.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie.
It does, admittedly. And like, if that 70s show mixed with ranch type humor, because it kind of is what this is, because it's Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher, doesn't jive with you, you're not really going to like this show. Yeah, there are days I don't really like it, but there are days that I dig it. Like, it's kind of up and down for me. Danny Masterson has since been removed from the show and replaced by Dax Shepard. In like the 2019 year, I think.
He had some type of Me Too movement.
It's because Danny Masterson was apparently pretty touchy, like touchy-feely, with a lot of people that he shouldn't have been touchy-feely with, who didn't want it.
Fuck that.
So just don't fucking touch people who don't want to be touched. It's super easy. I can't tell you how easy it is to not touch people who don't want to be touched. But yeah, so he's been removed. That's fine. Rooster was not great. Danny Masterson was literally just playing the same character from that 70s show, but somehow creepier. So it wasn't that great. Dax Shepard is definitely an upgrade in that regard.
I like Dax Shepard. He's great in Parenthood.
He is great. And Dax Shepard's just great in general, so I support that. So yeah, don't watch Man with a Plan. If you've learned anything from this tangent just now, watch The Ranch. Like, if this kind of show, if Man with a Plan, you saw just the snapshot, you're like, this looks like my kind of show, kindly back away, turn towards The Ranch, and hit play. And I think you'll be better off. But that's it for me on shows, unless you want to rip on people a little bit more.
No, that is it, sir. We've got a podcast to recommend, I believe.
Yeah, we got a podcast for y'all. I won't beat around the bush too much. We just like to bring you some new stuff, both movies, TV show, and podcasts. So if this podcast that we're about to play, a quick few second promo for you, sounds at all interesting, we just wanted you to have the chance to add it to your library. So we'll see you back in just a few seconds.
Hey, Sasha.
Hey, Courtney.
Where can you get hot takes about ghosts, cryptids, farts, and cats?
I don't know, where?
On our podcast, Spoop Hour.
Oh, that's right.
Each week, we talk about the things that spook us out and we laugh through our fear.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Swoop Hour, and you can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or really anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Feel free to also drop us a line at spoophour@gmail.com.
We want to hear about your ghosts.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully that sounded pretty interesting to you. I thought it was interesting, so that's why I brought it to your table. But since we're done with that, we're going to get on to our signature sections. That is the report back and assigning sections. This is what Film Rush is actually kind of known for these days. So the report back is first. So the previous episode, usually the previous week, but it's 2 weeks ago, sorry. We assign each other movies that we've never seen before. We have a list that we know for certain we've not seen these. And we assign them to be viewed, and they must be viewed. It's a bond at this point. It's been over 2 years. We kind of have to do it now. So Logan watched the NeverEnding Story, and I watched The Nightmare Before Christmas. So since I went on a very long sitcom tangent, let's go to you, Logan. What did you think of The NeverEnding Story? Did you want it to never end, or could you not wait for it to end?
That's a good way to put it. I thought that The NeverEnding Story was a
good start.
It was a child's okay. NeverEnding Story was a fantasy trip that I really didn't need.
All right.
I definitely wanted the movie to end really, really quickly. I wasn't vibing with all of the puppets and the animation. I thought the story was a little bit on the ridiculous and silly side. I had a pretty similar experience watching the NeverEnding Story as I did to what was the other animated movie you had me watch a couple months ago that I thought was terrible?
Oh, the Black Cauldron? Yeah, that's
Black
a
Cauldron.
shitty movie that I love.
Yeah. So NeverEnding Story was much better in terms of quality than the Black Cauldron, but I still kind of had a very similar like reaction to it. I just thought it was all ridiculous. There weren't any characters that really gravitated themselves to me. I thought it was kind of ridiculous to have this young boy child have so much power in a fantasy realm. I mean, I know that's the whole point and everything, I guess, but I don't know. It didn't endear itself to me in the same way a lot of other childhood movies from this era do. So I was disappointed. Where are you at with this movie, John? Is this a beloved childhood movie for you, or are you kind of meh on it?
I'm pretty in the middle side camp. Yeah, like I've never been a serial viewer of this. I'm not one of the people that sees a horse plus a mud pit and cries. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just I don't know. It's charming, as you said. It's definitely a product of its time. This was made in like the 80s, if not the 90s. I think
mid-80s, 84.
Yeah, 84. 84 was when it's released, so it was probably started production in like 81.
Yep, probably.
So just keep that in mind if you want to click on this and you've never seen it before. It was made in the 80s, so expect a lot of 80s stuff. And I think there's a statute of limitations in my personal taste when it comes to fantasy stuff. I can't handle a lot of fantasy stuff from the 80s. It really needs to be a specific thing, and this never was.
Well, speaking of animated movies from the past, you've got 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas. So what did you think about watching that?
So again, I've tried to watch this in the past and it didn't jive with me. This time it didn't not jive with me, but again, I think it was the fact that any other time I would be at net zero. And other times I've tried to watch it, it's just been not a fun experience. So at this point, I think it's pretty obvious I'm sort of blah on this film.
Hey, that's completely fine. That's fair.
It has a very simple story.
Jacqueline's not very high on it either.
Jack Skellington is the Lord of Halloween. He finds a plane of existence that allows you to jump to the different worlds of the holidays. You can go to the Easter land, or you can go to Christmas land. He falls into Christmas land, decides, I like Christmas, I want this to be mine, and he tries to take it, and it doesn't work out the way he planned, but it also does kind of work out in ways he couldn't have foreseen, and it's a macabre story. It's told in very professionally done stop motion. The stop motion is extremely impressive. However, compared to stuff like Kubo and the Two Strings, which I know is very modern, so it's kind of hard to compare it to that. Let's go with Coraline as a more recent example. This film felt like it was always under a very harsh light, the lighting setup. It felt like I was looking at a soundstage. The background was always flat black. There wasn't anything on the horizon pretty much ever in this film. So it felt like I was just watching a set. It felt like I was watching a little set and someone was moving toys around, which granted, I know people are like, well, that's literally what stop motion is. Coraline at least made me buy that I was in a world, so to speak, that I was watching someone in a house. I was watching someone in a field, in a circus tent. I was watching them in real play. This felt like I was watching toys just be mashed together. And it just didn't quite sell me on the world. So that's also kind of a downer for me. Overall, I get why people like it. My personal rating is probably around 6 to a 5, but that's just because I didn't have a very powerful reaction to it, not because of any hate. Otherwise, I get why people would like this.
Interesting. I don't know what else to say other than that's completely fair. It's a very unique animation style, and it's not my favorite either. I've only seen the film, I think, twice all the way through. I've seen it on in the background several times. I think it's a good movie to put on on Halloween night while people are starting to show up as kind of your background setting on your TV, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a good icebreaker. It's not offensive. Sure. No one's going to be mad that you put on the Nightmare Before Christmas. Or when the
5-year-old nephew comes over early on Christmas Day, or you're over at the family's house or something. One of those kinds of things. Yeah. I like it. The songs are fun. It's a fun experience for me, but it's not beloved to me in that way. So I have fun with it and I enjoy it, but I don't love it. So I'm certainly not offended by the fact that this was not your cup of tea, because I get it. I honestly, most of these movies I avoid because I'm not the biggest fan of this animation style. It's just not my favorite.
So, I mean, again, though, I love Coraline. And I think Coraline is the same director. I know this guy made James and the Giant Peach. I'm not a big fan of James and the Giant Peach.
Henry Selick. Yes, he directed Coraline.
So that's the weird thing though. Coraline, I think, is the furthest down the line, isn't it? Isn't that the most recent film of the three compared to Night Before Christmas? And I know James and the Giant Peach definitely came before Nightmare.
James and the Giant Peach was 96. Coraline was 2009. Actually, hold on. Nightmare Before Christmas was 93. So before Nightmare Before Christmas, he had 3 shorts. I don't recognize any of them, but Nightmare Before Christmas is the first feature length on Henry Selick's IMDb page.
See, now that makes sense, because I didn't I felt like Night Before Christmas was, I hesitate to say amateur because it sounds like an insult, but it's not. And also, it was an amateur.
Low
there
budget,
were a lot of
maybe?
Good professionals on this. Maybe low budget, yeah. And then James the Giant Peach is a little bit further down the line, and I think Coraline is when things hit their stride. And that's where it sold me. I like Coraline a lot. I go back to Coraline a lot as a stop motion property. So I'm not against it. It's just not my thing. But that's on Disney Plus. If anyone hasn't seen it and they want to check it out.
So just out of comparison, Nightmare Before Christmas came out the same year that Batman Mask of the Phantasm came out.
Ooh, I like that movie. That's a nice movie. If anyone likes Batman movies, we have a video on the YouTube channel for you to check out if you want to look at that. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think we covered Mask of the Phantasm maybe back in
July. Yeah, you watched it recently. So we also have an episode
May?
where Logan checked that out. And he didn't have as grand of an experience as I wanted him to, but I think he still enjoyed it. So that's nice. That's good. But otherwise, that brings us to our assigning section. So let's assign each other movies, shall we? I want to get mine out of the way because I don't know a whole ton about it.
Cool.
So I've never seen this film, to be honest. It's from 1997. It's 2.5 hours. So have fun with that, by the way. I didn't know it was that long until just now.
Ooh, you bitch.
And it's Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
I felt like
heck yeah.
We were in
Keanu!
Spoopy month, and I know this isn't technically a spooky movie per se. It's not defined that way. It's a drama, mystery, thriller.
He is the devil.
But hey, thriller is in the word in the fucking genre list, and thrillers are considered spoopy. So fuck it. It's also got devil its title, so fuck you. But yeah, Devil's Advocate. So an exceptionally adept Florida lawyer, of course he's from Florida, is offered a job at a high-end New York City law firm with a high-end boss. The biggest opportunity of his career to date. So if anyone hasn't figured that out, that's Keanu Reeves working for Al Pacino. This has also got Charlize Theron, It's got Craig T. Nelson. It's got Pamela Gray, which I recognize from something, but I don't know what just right now. And a bunch of other people that, honestly, I think if you have been paying attention to movies at all within the past 2 decades, you'll be like, oh, hey, whoa, hey, that person, hey.
Looks like Pamela Gray was in Sons of Anarchy. Agent Amy Tyler.
Oh, yes, that's where I know her from. Wow, deep-ass
I got you, bro. I'm hot on that IMDb.
Cut in my brain.
Nice.
But yeah, so I can't remember. I don't know, actually, if this is the movie that Keanu Reeves is known for, like, having one of his worst performances.
I think it is.
I know it's one of these types of movies. So I'll be curious to hear your report back on both that and the film, because the thing is, like, everyone says, like, this is one of the worst Keanu Reeves performances, but then no one says anything about the film itself. So I don't know if it sucks or not. It's got a 63 on Rotten Tomatoes, but again, that's so middle of the road that I don't know. That's the critics, I should say. Audience, fucking 80%. Like, they're down to clown with this, apparently.
That's a pretty high rating.
So I have no information to go on, so I'm leaving it to you.
Interesting. Cool. All right, I will check this out. I've heard about this movie a lot over the years, but I have never seen it. So because it's Pacino and because it's Keanu, I've always wanted to see it. I did not know until right now that actually Charlize Theron was in the movie, and Craig T. Nelson is another favorite of mine. So I'm excited to check this out. Don't recognize the director. This is the first time I've ever seen a movie by Taylor Hackford. The only other movie of note that I recognized from his resume was Ray. I haven't seen that either, though. So it's going to be new ground for me in terms of a director. So I'm excited about that, too.
Nice. So what is it that I'm going to be assigned this week?
Cool. You asked me for some softcore horror recommendations, and I thought, hey, what is more softcore than 2020's Scoob? The new Scooby-Doo movie.
It's downright flaccid core.
Yeah, man. But seriously, like this weekend, I was at Jacqueline's family's house, and I was watching Scooby-Doo. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was going to be a couple of hours until like 20 people showed up for a Halloween party. And I was like, I got to watch something Halloween-y, but I have a 5-year-old nephew in the room, so what can I watch? Well, let's find some Scooby-Doo. So I found some Scooby-Doo over on Netflix. Watched like 6 hours of Scooby-Doo. Like, it was just on, like, all day from that point on.
Damn.
And it was really, really cool to, like, catch up on some episodes of Scooby-Doo. So I saw this on your list, and I was like, you know what? They like to solve mysteries in Scooby-Doo. So I'm going to give John a mystery movie to watch this week, so he can have a Halloween occasion, but not get, like, super scared.
Oh, my God. This is making my list sound like a wet blanket. I saw that he had Scoob on his list, so for October I gave him
The
Scoob.
scariest movie on your list, 2020 Scoob.
It won't give you too much of a spook, Scoob.
And
yeah.
And the last thing that I'll say, I have not seen the live action Scoob movies. I have not seen this Scoob movie.
Not touching those with a 10-foot pole.
I will watch. I will do my best to watch 2020 Scoob with you at some point. Not at some point, over the next week, and then I can report back on it with you next week, because I love Scooby-Doo. I grew up with Scooby-Doo.
Same.
It's got a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not great.
It's not fantastic, but also it's not any less than I was expecting.
Yeah.
For like this property. Honestly, I had really low expectations, so that doesn't really damage my expectations.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I mean, you got Zac Efron as Fred. Like, no. Like, Gina Rodriguez is Velma. Jason Isaacs is a character named Dick Dastardly.
Ooh.
Mark Wahlberg is a character. Will Forte is Shaggy, and that just feels wrong. But you do have...
Maybe it works, though.
You say what?
I said maybe it works, because Will Forte has like some surprising sides to him. I will give him that.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'll keep an open mind. Amanda Seyfried is Daphne. Tracy Morgan is in here. Frank Welker, thank goodness, is Scooby-Doo. That actually does
not
give
a fan
me
of
some...
Tracy Morgan. That's not a good sign.
Apparently Simon Cowell plays himself.
Oh, well, I mean, he would only play himself. That man can't
do anything but
pay
himself.
attention to anybody but himself. Yeah, I bet he touches himself, the bastard. But,
Yeah. But okay, so here's the IMDb description. Scooby and the gang face their most challenging mystery ever. Okay, fuck off. A plot to unleash the ghost dog Cerberus.
Cerberus? Did you just fuck up the word Cerberus?
Cerberus.
Yes.
What? It's not a word that you say every day. What the heck, dude?
It's one of the most popular mythical beasts in like mythology ever.
All right, well, I guess
it's the three-headed dog.
Hey,
to the
I guess you
underworld,
found blinds. I have no clue what this is. Ghost dog. How do you? Okay,
we learned this shit in school for some reason. Don't ask me why, but it's in school.
Say it for me again. How do you pronounce it?
Cerberus. It's also in Mass Effect. Like, they have a whole group, like, in Mass... I don't know if you ever played Mass Effect.
No, not Mass Effect.
Oh, well, that would...
Cerberus.
Well, now that just damaged our friendship / family relations.
Interesting. Anyway, so they
hey, they might be coming out with a remaster soon, so fucking check that out.
They have to race to solve this dog apocalypse. The gang discovers that Scooby has an epic destiny greater than anyone imagined.
Oh, gross.
Bum, bum, bum.
That description actually lowered my expectations even more.
That does not surprise me. Let's look at the director
Saying
here.
that Scooby has a fucking destiny is never a good marketing move. I don't understand.
No, it's not. What has he directed before? Some Tom and Jerry episodes, and that's about it.
Really? That's disappointing. I mean, I love Tom and Jerry, and Duck Dodgers. He's got Duck Dodgers as a producer.
Gosh.
He's done a lot of art department stuff. Yeah, but it seems like as a director, not much. He's mostly of that Looney Tunes, like mid-thousands, like 2014, 2012 Looney Tunes era.
Interesting.
He goes all the way back to Duck Dodgers from 2005, though. I loved that show. I feel like what's about to happen is I'm about to watch a cartoon that 10-year-old me would have dug the shit out of. And
maybe
it's gonna be terrible for 26-year-old me. So
that's completely fair.
We're gonna
but
see.
Hey, we'll both watch it and we'll come back next week and
give her a look.
We'll see if it's a Scooby snack or if it's a
it's a Scooby snack or it's a ruh-roh. That should be our new fucking measuring system.
It's our new measurement system.
I can't promise that I'll watch Devil's Advocate, but maybe I'll check it out. We'll shall see.
No pressure.
But just as we're wrapping up this episode, everybody, I had a poll going on Twitter. If you were following me on Twitter, you would have seen it. So this is your fault. And the reason why this is relevant is because I talked about prop culture earlier, and I wanted to know what everyone's favorite Narnia movie was, because there's a little bit of contention on that. And from the small sample size that I got on Twitter, the decision is split, surprisingly, between Lion Witch and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian. Those literally are even, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader is way behind. So I'm a little disappointed. I like Voyage of the Dawn Treader a lot, but I get Lion and the Witch. That's the first one. I honestly think it is the best one. Prince Caspian.
I feel like that one's a clear lead. I think you got to give that like 80% the best one. You got to give Prince Caspian like 15% and Voyage of the Dawn Treader 5%. Because I did not like Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I dig the book. I dig the book so much. That movie was a bummer.
When did you see Voyage of the Dawn Treader? I thought I remembered you saying you'd never seen Voyage.
Oh, I saw that in theaters opening weekend. I saw it in theaters a couple times.
I always found more enjoyment from Voyage of the Dawn Treader than from Prince Caspian, personally.
I've probably seen Prince Caspian maybe 30 or 40 times.
Nice.
It's one of those, like... I've only seen it once since I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I liked Prince Caspian, because these came out when we were, 13 or 14?
Yeah, it was right around that prime, we're not ready for adult stuff yet, but we can watch swords and stuff.
I've seen Lord of the Rings 100 times, so what's something else that's close? Yep. Oh, I'll watch Narnia, and if I really feel like it, then I'll watch something like Bridge to Terabithia or the Spiderwick Chronicles or Aragon.
Yeah, we were right in that same area. I avoided Aragon, but yeah, we were right in that same area.
I avoided Aragon as well.
So split decision on fucking Lion Witch.
That's surprising though, man. Lion Witch and the Wardrobe. And
Prince Caspian.
That's the winner. That's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, given that it's a split decision, I will give it to Lion Witch and the Wardrobe. I also ran another poll a while ago that was the first 4 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, And Curse of the Black Pearl fucking sailed away with that one. That was gone, motherfucker. I agree.
You might even argue that Curse of the Black Pearl is the only good Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
I will say, in hindsight, I have found that it's like a Star Wars situation. I like the first 3 better than the next 2. I do like the first 3. Curse of the Black Pearl is definitely the first best. The fact is, Dead Men Tell No Tales, I couldn't even fit it on the poll. They only let you do 4 options. So I said anybody who likes that commented in. Surprisingly, not at all. No one commented. But the only other movie that got any votes was At World's End, the third one. Fucking Dead Man's Chest didn't get shit. I was surprised.
Interesting.
I figured it'd be a little bit of ascendancy, like best is Black Pearl, then Dead Man's Chest, then At World's End. But no, it's just fucking those two.
It goes 1, 2, 4, 3, 5 for me.
Interesting.
I would rather watch Stranger Tides.
I think I like 3 a little better than Dead Man's, but I think I like the first 3 just generally the better. And then At Stranger Tides is next. And then Dead Men Tells No Tales doesn't exist. It's burning in the fire as we speak.
The 5th one is the worst. We agree.
So if you guys like Twitter, I'm on there at the _LA_gold. Down in the description is my handle if you want to know how to spell it without just me telling you. Logan's also on there, but he is honestly, we're kind of like 2 sides of a coin. So like I'm really active on Twitter. Logan's not. But to be fair, I'm super not active on Letterboxd. And Letterboxd is a social media site pretty much exclusively for movie nerds. So if you are a cinephile or a movie nerd at all, definitely follow Logan on Letterboxd. His name/handle for Letterboxd is also in the description. You can find him. He watches literally hundreds of movies a year. So you will not be bored. So if you want your shit posting, go to my Twitter. If you want your movie knowledge, go to Logan, which I think is hilarious. But it works out. And otherwise, we also have Facebook for the official Film Rush stuff. We also have an email if you want to email us. We also have a YouTube channel. We're on all kinds of audio platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, and whatnot. But we also have YouTube, and we would dig it if you jump over there. If you have any preference for what content you would like to see specifically from us on YouTube, we'd love to hear from you because we'd like to provide the entertainment that you're looking for. Otherwise, we hope you've had a wonderful week. We're glad you stuck around for that break last week to come with us here, and you've been here till the end, baby. So it's been fun. We'll see you next time around, Logan. Let's let him go.
Bye, everyone.